Om Ajnanatimrandasya Gyananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so this is a continuation of the second canto, chapter 7. And what we are, Hare Krishna, Prabhu and Matajis, can you just check and see if you're mute, please? I just want to request you to ensure that you're mute. Thank you. So we're going to continue with the discussion of the seventh canto and, second canto, chapter 7. And particularly, we stopped at verse 23. This chapter is basically a continuation of the description of coming in touch with Sambandha. So we spoke about it in the second canto. A focus is on Sambandha because Bhagavatam is all about bringing us closer in a relationship to Krishna. So it is Sambandha Gyan that is progressively seen in the Bhagavatam. As a consequence, we are also advised not to jump to the 10th canto without going through the first 9 cantos, because without having the proper adhikar, without having the proper sambandha, we wouldn't be able to comprehend the extraordinary nature of Krishna's activities in Vraja, in Vrajabhumi. It's quite possible for us to understand Krishna in Dwaraka as a king because he is opulent, he expresses his power, he shows his opulences in different way, but it's very difficult to understand Vraja. It is very difficult to understand Krishna's activities in Vraja. Srimad Bhagavatam progressively takes us from one canto to the other, increasing our Sambandha Gyan. And Sambandha is all about us being able to understand who we are in Krishna's relationship. Who are we to Krishna? Which primary mellow do we belong to? Are we in Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya? Which of the mellows do we belong to? This Gyan, or this knowledge, comes to us at the time of completing the process of Anartha Nivritti. So there's a receipt of Shraddha, Adau Shraddha. First there is Shraddha because there is Sukriti. There's some good fortune from the previous lifetime, and as a consequence, because of the good fortune, sometimes the good fortune is not known as a consequence. We don't even know why we have come in touch with Mahaprabhu's movement. So there's been some good fortune. As a consequence, we come in touch with Shraddha. This Shraddha, the faith, is deposited into our heart by coming in touch with an extraordinarily powerful personality who has a lot of faith. When we use the word faith, and we also use the word lot of faith essentially means that someone started with faith and then their sadhana and their progress in devotional service reached a point of experiences. You and I do not need to have faith to know that we are able to see each other, in the sense that I can see that you're logged into Zoom. You can see me on the screen. This doesn't require faith because this is a direct experience. This is pratyaksha praman. Praman, proof, is pratyaksha. You're able to perceive my presence even though I'm far away. I'm in Vrindavan and you are in different parts of the world. You are able to see me and I can perceive your presence because I can see you logged in. This is pratyaksha praman. We don't need faith. There is no need for faith if you can observe directly. So when someone's vision, someone's senses are completely spiritualized, their sambandha is complete, and their faith is complete to the point where they can see Leela with their own eyes whilst being on the planet. They can experience the spiritual sky whilst being on the planet. They carry complete faith. Complete faith equals complete experiences. They are no more in a situation of doubt. So our acharyas say that a guru or a fully realized soul is one who knows chit, which is spiritual potency. They also know achit, which is nescience, in the sense they know what is not spiritual, and they're also aware of Bhagavat. They also understand and completely they're aware of Bhagavan. So this is the completion of complete realization, where they're fully aware of knowledge, and as a consequence, they've experienced it by their own vision. Just as much as we don't need faith to perceive Ishvara's presence just as we speak now, they don't need faith. They have directly seen the truth. Now, when we come in touch with such a soul, progressively, they are able to deposit their faith into our hearts when they speak through their sound vibration. Sometimes it is through their books. Sometimes it is through their presence in different ways. Then we are able to experience their experience to some extent, because their faith enters into our ears through Shabda. Yeah. For them, it is Pratyaksha. They're able to see. For us, it is Shabda. Their faith transforms from Pratyaksha into Shabda, which is words, sound vibration. It enters into our ears. So sadhana bhakti is all about being able to position ourselves to receive such faith. So the cycle of coming in touch with faith and then developing an affinity for what is being given, associating with others, sadhu sangha, engaging in bhajana kriya. Kriya is to use our limbs in service. Srila Rupa Goswami is very particular. He says, use your limbs in service. So we use our limbs in service, bhajana kriya, after coming in touch with faith. And once we attain faith through bhajana kriya, and anartha nivritti begins. We start throwing away that which is not related to the original sambandha. Krishna is given, Nama is given. Then whether Nama has a Rupa, Nama that is heard has Rupa, has Guna, has Leela. So what is initially given is Harinam, and as we progress further in our Sambandha and our Anarthas are being taken away, where we are going closer and closer, we are constantly re-strategizing. We're constantly looking at our lives and removing things that are problematic or not related. In other words, that which is a distraction. So we want to have as minimal an interaction with this material world as possible eventually. So there's constant interaction, constant movement, and being able to rearrange life. Yeah. Then Nama transforms and it gives us an idea, because Nama is non-different from Krishna. Nama, naminoho, abhinnatvam. There is no difference. Nama starts revealing Rupa. Our Rupa, Rupa of the residents of the spiritual sky, Krishna's Rupa as well. So we are mentored whilst being on the planet by a realized soul who attracts us. Krishna attracts us through the means of the Guru. Krishna attracts us through the means of Nam. We are mentored by a realized soul. And then when we progress further in Krishna consciousness and go through the process of Anartha Nivritti, Nama reveals Rupa, Rupa reveals Guna, and then there's Leela. There's Leela. There is further and further Sambandha Gyan that is revealed by Harinam, because it starts sprouting in our heart. It starts sprouting. The initial seed of faith that was sowed in a heart that was soft and receptive begins growing as a creeper of bhakti. And while growing, it enriches us with experiences, it enriches us with information, enriches us with all kinds of wonderful gifts to further enrich the faith. This is a cycle. This is a cycle. That's the reason why we constantly come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam. One reads Srimad Bhagavatam many a time. One comes in touch with Sadhu Guru many a time. And then each and every time we come in touch with them, as much as we have progressed in our sadhana bhakti, we have the ability to absorb their gift. So the cycle of Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, it happens multiple times. One can go through it multiple times within the same lifetime, within several lifetimes, over a span of several lifetimes within the same lifetime. So it's not necessarily one iteration, it's multiple iterations. There are multiple iterations of the cycle of being able to give up that which is not related. And it can happen within one lifetime, it can happen over several lifetimes. And as we come closer and closer to the Sambandha Gyan, then Nama begins revealing everything. In a similar fashion, the second canto starts with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Literally, Srimad Bhagavatam, the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, the interaction between Srila Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj begins with the second canto. So we see faith being given based on adhikar. So the first chapter talks about the universal form, which is a manifestation of the Lord within this universe. By observing his separated energies, we're also observing the representation of all separated energies into one Virat Rupa. But it is material because the time factor, which is a part of the material world, is involved. He is supreme time. In the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says he is Kala. He says, I've come here to destroy everybody. So that is being seen in the first chapter. Then we have a description of the super soul, the Antaryami, the Paramatma. Then we have a description of pure devotional service. Then we have a description of the Purusha avatars. And then of the Purusha avatars, there's a further delineation. There is the avatars who also come from the Purusha avatars. These are the Leela avatars. Now we will have to understand this. Please be very clear on one topic. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna and Radharani. So he is complete, just as Krishna is. In fact, he is more than Krishna because he has Radharani within him. Radha and Krishna are separate, and now there's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is one single personality. So he is not an avatar. He is the origin of all avatars. He is the source of all avatars. He is the hidden incarnation. They use the word hidden incarnation because there isn't a better word, but he is the avatari because he's non-different from Radha and Krishna, and they are the origin of everybody else. From Krishna, there is Balaram. From Gauranga, there's Nitai. So from Krishna, there's Balaram. It is Sri Balaram who expands into the Purusha avatars. So there is Karanodakashayi Vishnu, who lies on the causal ocean. There is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who lies within the material universe in a certain Vaikuntha space within the material universe. He is the Guna avatar, but he is also the super soul of the living entities. Then there is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who is the super soul of the demigods, and he lies on the Garbhodaka ocean. From him expands everybody else. So there are avatars who descend from Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. They have a combination of Jiva Tattva and Paramatma Tattva. They are Vishnu Tattva, but there is also Jiva Tattva. So Lord Vamanadev, Lord Matsyavatar, Lord Kurma, they all fall into this category. There are three personalities who are non-different. They are completely Paramatma Tattva. That is Narsimadev, Lord Varaha, and Sri Rama. These are three personalities who are non-different. They are complete. They are Purna avatars. Lord Ram, Lord Varaha, Lord Narasimha. There is no Jiva Tattva in them. When Lord Ram appears on the planet, he is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu who appears on the planet. He is not a combination where there is Jiva and a predominance of Paramatma Tattva. So imagine this. Imagine that we are basically in this human body, and in this human body there's a soul and there's a super soul. When we become qualitatively the same as the super soul, we exhibit godly qualities. This is exactly what our scope is. Our scope is to exhibit qualities that are Krishna conscious. But this Purna avatar, the Sampurna avatars, when they descend, Lord Rama descends, he is Sampurna Paramatma Tattva. There is no soul, there is no distinction. That is the super soul himself, Paramatma himself. It is the spiritual expansion of the Lord himself who descends. So he's complete. Narasimhadev is the same. Lord Varaha is the same. These are three personalities. Lord Gauranga is the origin of all avatars. He is the same as Krishna. So we do not want to consider him as an avatar, even though for the sake of description, we take it as such. So these are three main personalities. There is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and he is basically the second expansion of the Purusha. He impregnates the entire material universe. He supports the existence. From his navel comes the lotus flower. From the lotus flower is where Lord Brahma originates. So Lord Brahma is considered Swayambhu. Swayambhu means he is self-manifest. He doesn't have a mother and father. He is manifest from the potency of the Lord of wanting to create. As a consequence, he is considered Swayambhu. But this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he descends as Lord Ram. He descends as Narasimhadev. He descends as Varahadev. In terms of potency, he is Paramatma Tattva. He is complete in all respects. But when there are other avatars who come, there is also some Jiva Tattva. Lord Vamana, there's Jiva Tattva, but Paramatma Tattva is dominating. Lord Matsya, there's Jiva Tattva, but Paramatma Tattva is dominating. So there's a distinction between the two personalities, the three personalities of Lord Varaha, Narasimha, Rama versus the others. So these three personalities have expanded directly from the Lord. There is really no distinction. There is no such thing as what you would call as Jiva Tattva. There is no that component. There is no predominance of Paramatma Tattva where he monitors everything. This is 100%. The Super Soul himself, he's just descended. Lord Rama is such. Needless to say, Krishna is the avatari, so he is also such. He is the origin. Lord Gauranga is such. So is the case with Nrsingadev, Lord Varaha. These are two personalities as well. So the Mayavadis, they commit a great offense. They commit the offense of saying that Brahman, which is the effulgence of the Lord, is the origin of the avatars, where the effulgence takes a certain form, descends on the planet, completes its job, and disappears back into the effulgence. This is a great offense. The effulgence is the effulgence of the Lord. It is the Brahma Jyoti, it is Brahman. It is the spiritual substance that permeates the entire creation, that maintains, that is a spiritual substance. That is Lord Balaram's potency. Sandhini is Brahman. It is practically holding everything. It is eternal time. It holds everything. It holds relationships. So that is what is Brahman. Brahman is Krishna's effulgence. The Mayavadis make a mistake thinking that Brahman is the origin, and somehow Brahman, which is the effulgence of the Lord, takes a specific form when it descends to the planet, completes its job, and then merges again. So that's the reason why they have great confusion. They call themselves God, because they think we are also going to merge back into this effulgence. As a consequence, what is my difference with, what's the difference between me and a great personality? So this is the issue. But our Shastras are very clear. It is absurd. Our Shastras are that Brahman is the effulgence of the Lord. It is the potency of the Lord. It is specifically Sat potency. It is specifically the potency of Lord Balaram. He practically maintains everything in the spiritual sky, including the forms of the Lord. Everything is Balaram's potency. So, when the Lord descends, he is descending as himself in a complete spiritual form. This is Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the second Purusha who descends. He is complete in all respects. He's complete. So we can't really say that the effulgence came here and then disappeared back into the effulgence. The form was temporary. This is the issue. Then all the Leela of Nrsimhadev, all the Leela of Lord Ram, all the Leela of Krishna, all the Leela of all the great personalities, the Krishna's expansions who have descended, everything becomes Maya for them because everything is Maya. That is the reason why they're called Mayavadi. Yeah, because they promote this. But our acharyas are very clear. Our acharyas have a very clear distinction, saying very clearly that this is not the case. The universe is a very personal universe. We believe that we are all temporary, but we are real. Temporary is the reason why we are a part of illusion. It's temporary. The material creation is temporary because it unwinds. At different level, it unwinds and goes back. It is temporary, but it is not unreal. It is real, but temporary. That is the reason why, because it doesn't conform to the specification of Sat. Sat has to exist all the time. This is considered false, but we don't accept the fact that it is completely false. It is real, but it is temporary. This is a Siddhanta of our Vaishnava Acharyas. 4 Sampradayas, they are very well rooted in this particular thesis. Srimad Bhagavatam, written by Srila Prabhupada, is so clear. And so many devotees who have come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, they can't stay inert. They cannot stay inert. They have to act if you come in touch with Srila Prabhupada's books. If you come in touch with Srila Prabhupada's books, you will have to act. Why? Because it is fully present. Srimad Bhagavatam is completely conscious. It's been written exactly as what is desired by the Lord himself. It is represented as Sri Narad Muni would want to represent it. It is represented as Srila Vyasadeva would want to represent it. So as a consequence, when truth is represented exactly as the origin of truth, as the original authors have desired, then it becomes very dynamic. When you come in touch with such truth, you can't remain inert. You read it and you become suddenly aware that something is going on. You become aware when you come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam. When you may not be scholarly, we may not even have a clear idea, but something goes on because it's conscious. It is Krishna himself, because Krishna is being represented as Krishna himself. It is not being subverted because someone is confused about how it should be represented. It is not subverted. It is not being shared based on someone's whim and fancy because they're not comfortable with what is being represented. So when you come in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam, the way it is being represented by Srila Prabhupada, then you immediately give up being inert. You take up and you engage in dynamic action. We not only want to change ourselves, but we want to assist others. This is the outcome when you come in touch with Srila Prabhupada's books. This is the outcome when you people came in touch with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings. This was the outcome when they came in touch with Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's writings. This is the outcome when they come in touch with the Goswamis of Vrindavan. Because truth is full of life and it's full of action. It is not inert. You can't remain passive. There is no such thing as passivity once you come in touch with such profound truth. So we need to understand very clearly that Lord Gauranga and Nityananda Ram, they are non-different from Krishna and Balaram. Lord Gauranga is complete. He is full He is not a partial representation of Krishna's potency. He is full. He is the avatari. He is the origin. He can represent himself in the hearts of everyone as he desires. He represented himself as Narasimha to the Narasimha Brahmachari in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He represented himself as Lord Ram to Murari Gupta Prabhu. He showed himself as both Ram, Krishna to Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. The Shadbhuja Rupa of Lord Gauranga, it has been displayed so many other instances as well. There are so many different Gaudiya literature. So he revealed the Shadbhuja Rupa to more than one person. Chaitanya Charitamrita, we learn of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. Then we also learn about him displaying his different manifestations to Lord Nityananda. So the point being, he is the avatari. So we need to understand who he is and who we are connected to. So when we come in touch with Nam, when we come in touch with this parampara, they're giving us a direct connection to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And because we are in touch with this wonderful parampara, because we are directly in touch with the origin of the truth, we are directly in touch with Krishna's potency as both Nam, Guna, Rupa, Leela. We are observing Lord Gauranga and we are receiving things. We are receiving our faith from this lineage. As a consequence, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, there's great clarity. We can understand the mood and the service and the relationship, the sambandha, abhideya, prayojana of all the different avatars and their interactions with the various devotees, because we are in touch with the Sampurna avatar, the Purna avatar, which is Lord Gauranga himself. So we should not be in any confusion about our position. Neither should we be in confusion about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's position. And we should be very clear about the delineation of Sambandha, which is being achieved in the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're being asked to read the previous 9 cantos so that we qualify ourselves in different ways to reach the 10th canto. This is Sambandha Gyan. We want to study the devotion of different personalities. We want to see the interaction of desire. We want to see the effect of Karma Mishra Bhakti. We want to see the effect of Jnana Mishra Bhakti, because there are devotees with Jnana Mishra, there are devotees with Karma Mishra Bhakti. What did they achieve? We want to study all of that. We want to study Lord Hanuman's faith and extraordinary Dasya Bhakti to Lord Ram. Then we come and we can understand Krishna finally in the 10th canto. So there's a delineation. This is Sambandha. So that's the reason why we progress in a steady fashion. So the reason why I bring up Sambandha Gyan literally in every session is just to remind ourselves that this is not entertainment. It is a matter of us wanting to know who we are in relationship to Krishna. It requires inspiration from Srimad Bhagavatam. It requires inspiration by coming in touch with Nam, Seva of the deities. And needless to say, most specifically, our gift of Sambandha comes because we engage in service of Lord Gauranga. He gives us the gift of Sambandha. If our Sambandha is increasing, it's because he thinks that, okay, you are serving me, so I'll take care of you. So these are gifts which we receive from Lord Gauranga himself. So this is how it progresses. So today, we'll continue with a reading of the verses. And this is verse 23 actually. Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Maharaj Ikshvaku as the Lord of his internal potency, Sita Vallabha. Under the order of his father, Maharaj Dasharath, he entered the forest and lived there for considerable years with his wife and younger brother. Ravana, who was very materially powerful, with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against him and was thus ultimately vanquished. The personality of Godhead Ramachandra, being aggrieved for his distant, intimate friend, Mother Sita is being called his distant, intimate friend. glanced over the city of the enemy Ravana with red hot eyes like those of Hara, who wanted to burn the kingdom of heaven. The great ocean, trembling in fear, gave him his way because its family members, the aquatics, like sharks, snakes, and crocodiles, were being burnt by the heat of the angry, red hot eyes of the Lord. There's actually an amazing, if you want to experience this particular verse, you should go to South India. There is a place which is 60 kilometers away from Rameshwaram. And this place is called Tirupulani. There is a temple there, and the deity's name is Adi Jagannath. It is said that Maharaj Dasharath came to that temple and he actually sought boons to beget progeny. So it is said that from that temple is where Lord Dasharath Maharaj received boons. A blessing was given. So there are multiple occasions of performance of sacrifices, but that is a temple also where he received boons. In that particular spot, it is a she-show. What is amazing, and I've described this in the class that I gave on Ramanavami, there is a Hanumanji deity. He's all alone. He's facing the ocean. He is on the sand. He is just at the tip of where the water is, and he faces the ocean. And this deity, you can literally see that he is very angry. His eyes are really very angry. You can literally see he's angry because he's looking at the southern direction towards Lanka. And he is extraordinarily angry because his master, Lord Ram, is being put into tribulation. In the same temple of Adi Jagannath, you will find Lord Ram lying on kusha grass. The kusha grass is also a carving. It is not necessarily kusha grass, but he is lying on kusha grass. You'll never find the deity of Lord Ram lying supine, lying down. You can find Lord Ranganathji lying down. Rangaji, you can find him lying down. But then Lord Ram lying down, and he is lying down on darba grass, which is kusha grass. And then he is in great contemplation. He is contemplating how he could cross the ocean. In that particular spot, you can experience this because there was where he waited for 3 days. He was in penance. That area is just 60 kilometers, an hour from Rameshwaram. So that particular area is where Ram Leela occurred before the invasion of Lanka. Everybody assembled there. Lord Ram was there in penance. It is in that spot where, after he was in penance and he reached there, he also received the blessings of Dasharath Maharaj and all his ancestors. The entire lineage assembled in that area and gave him blessings. They all assembled in the heavens. They could come, they basically gave darshan to Lord Ram and blessed him with victory. So as a consequence, it is said that if you want to offer oblations to the ancestors, that's a very special spot because you can resolve issues that happen in the lineage if you go there. Because all the ancestors of Lord Ram appeared, Lord Ram was extraordinarily duty-bound to his ancestors. As a consequence, that area is considered to be very special. Now, what is to be understood is that the Lord was in penance for 3 days, waiting for the god of the seas, Varunadev, to appear so that there could be a solution. The ocean could literally part. He didn't appear for 3 days. And that is what is being described here, that the angry, red hot eyes of the Lord, making Lord Ram angry is a very difficult task. It's a very, very difficult task to make him angry. He cannot become angry. He's filled with such deep compassion and care and nurturing that you cannot make him angry. He takes decisions that put himself at great inconvenience. He took a lot of decisions that put himself at great inconvenience. Mother Sita supported him. She put herself and submitted herself to great inconvenience for his pleasure, as a duty-bound wife would do. But it is very difficult to make him angry. So it appears that in that spot, I think Varuna Dev, the demigod in charge of the ocean, really infuriated Lord Ram. For 3 days, he was waiting. There's really a lack of etiquette because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. And he's there basically to engage in his Leela. So no one can cause such an obstruction. So it was a lack of etiquette. So anyways, that is why it is said that the ocean itself was started boiling because of the heat that emanated from the eyes of the Lord. When Ravana was engaged in the battle, the trunk of the elephant which carried the king of heaven, Indra, broke in pieces, having collided with the chest of Ravana, and the scattered, broken parts illuminated all directions. Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers, thinking himself the conqueror of all directions. But his laughter, overtaken by joy, along with his very air of life, suddenly ceased with the tingling sound of the bow of Ramachandra, the personality of Godhead. Lord Ram's arrow, Ramban, is considered to be extraordinarily special because it is a manifestation of the Sudarshan Chakra. The Sudarshan Chakra is the will of the Lord. It is the will of the Lord. Similarly, the arrow of Lord Ram represented his will. So as a consequence, who could stop the will of the Lord? The arrow could never be stopped because it is the will of the Lord. It represents the Ichcha Shakti of the Lord, the potency of the Lord. You can't imagine what it is. Just to understand, we can't even imagine what it is. Just as the Sudarshan Chakra, you can see the manifestation of the Sudarshan Chakra, which is also an expansion of the Lord. But the Sudarshan Chakra is the will of the Lord. He goes wherever the Lord desires. He knows, and he is ahead. He is not behind the Lord, he is ahead. He is ahead by a few steps, ensuring that the Lord is served nicely. So it is like a perfect disciple who understands the will of the master. The master's will is understood, so they're a few steps ahead, trying to fulfill things. They're not waiting for orders. Similarly, the Sudarshan Chakra is described in the interaction in the 9th canto. In the 9th canto, Ambarish Maharaj offers prayers to Sudarshan Chakra. And there he reveals that the Sudarshan Chakra is an expansion of the Lord, which is the truth, because in the spiritual sky, in the material sky, he is the time. He is supreme time in the material sky. Sudarshan Chakra is time. He is the wheel of time. It is the will of the Lord. That is why it is supreme. No one can fight the will of the Lord because that is the Sudarshan Chakra. In the spiritual sky, it is the Lord himself because it is the will. Yeah. So the destruction that occurs in the material world due to the time factor is simply the manifestation of the will of the Lord, which is the Sudarshan Chakra. So in a similar fashion, Lord Ram's arrow, if he desires to shoot the arrow with his bow, and he's aiming at a target, he can't miss. Because it's his will. If that is supposed to cause destruction, it will cause destruction. There can be absolutely no mistakes. So that is being described here, that even though this person, Ravana, the demon, he was so powerful that he broke the trunk of Airavata, Lord Indra's elephant, into multiple pieces because it crashed against his chest. He was so powerful. But the same Ravana met his end because Lord Ram shot an arrow which was his will. Lord Ram's arrows are his will, his Ichcha Shakti. They represent his will. That is the Sudarshan Chakra, the supreme time. There is no question of being able to surpass. It is like the nails of Lord Nrsimhadev. Is there any material that could surpass or rather protect one if the nails of Lord Nrsingadev desired to tear apart Hiranyakashipu. Who could he have gone for protection? What kind of weapon, what shield could be presenting itself to prevent the nails from penetrating? Because it is a supreme time. The same Sudarshan Chakra incarnates as the nails of the Lord, right? In Varaha Avatar, the same Sudarshan Chakra incarnates as the tusk of Lord Varaha, which penetrates and kills Hiranyaksha. So who could surpass that particular aspect of Krishna? This is Krishna's personal expansion himself. It is Krishna's will. He is the supreme time. He is the wheel of time here. You can read about it in Ambarish Maharaj's prayers. You can read about it in Ambarish Maharaj's prayers in the 9th canto. So this is where he is saying that this personality who thought that he had achieved everything, he was shattered with an arrow by Lord Ram. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends with his plenary portion. The Lord comes in his original form with beautiful black hair, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. Yeah, this is basically Krishna and Balaram who are being described. And they are being described with beautiful black hair. It's a very distinct feature. Yeah, beautiful black hair. Both Krishna and Balaram. Yeah, the spiritual world is full of contradictions. In the material world, you can find contradictions. Here, the contradictions can't exist in harmony. If you have a contradiction, it is going to basically stand the opposite to each other. There isn't such thing as contradictions being in harmony in the material world. In the spiritual world, two very apparent contradictions can coexist in great harmony. So you can call Krishna Purana Purusha. You can call him the oldest. You can also call him Nava Yavana, the youngest. So here, the position of Krishna being Nava Yavana, even when he was very old, in the sense by whatever scales that are applicable during the Dwapara Yuga, he still had beautiful black hair. He was very youthful. There was no sign of old age. So these are contradictions. These contradictions can coexist in harmony in the spiritual sky. They can coexist in harmony. There really isn't any, I would say, disturbance by two things being together. In the material world, if you call something old, it cannot be called young. Yeah, if someone is old, they cannot be simultaneously called young. You cannot call the person who is, materially old, as in Purusha, who is very old, as also Navayavana, he is youthful, he is very young. You can't do that because here the contradictions are obvious. In the spiritual sky, they coexist in harmony. The Lord can be the oldest, he can be the youngest. And both these positions, they don't really fight it out. They can coexist in the same person. So here, he's being described with beautiful black hair. Both of them, Krishna and Balaram. There is no doubt about Lord Krishna being the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, how was it possible for him to kill a giant demon like Putana when he was just on the lap of his mother, to overturn a cart with his leg when he was only 3 months old, to uproot a pair of Arjuna trees so high that they touched the sky when he was only crawling? All these activities are impossible for anyone other than the Lord himself. These are extraordinary activities. These are very extraordinary activities. You see, they are very extraordinary activities. The Vrajavasis, they wonder about Putana. They wonder about this Sakatashura, the cart demon. They wonder about the other demons. They really wonder, saying, this boy, this friend of ours, he couldn't have killed him. You see, because if Krishna is believed to have killed Putana, if Krishna is believed to have killed Sakatashura by his friends, then this mood of Sakyaras would become spoiled because it would be interspersed with Aishwarya, the opulence of the Lord and the power of the Lord. Sakyaras in Vraja is Vishramba, where the Vraja Bhaktas, these cowherd boys, they think Krishna is our equal. Now imagine if this Sakyaras is interspersed and starts, it's interfered with, where there is this belief in the hearts of the cowherd boys that my friend here can kill a demon. He's so big. They can't believe how. You see, they think that he has received some powers. They think he has received some kind of benediction. They don't really believe that he can do it by himself, because that interferes with their ability to love him as a friend. So this is the beauty of Raj, where the Aishwarya, the opulence of the Lord of great strength, is covered over by the sweetness of relationship, because the Sakyaras will get interfered with if it is, you mix it with the opulence of the Lord. Here, they really want to see him as being dependent on him. Mother Yashoda wants a child. She doesn't want Vishnu. Mother Yashoda is not interested in the avatar. She's not interested in this extraordinary child. She wants her child. She wants to express motherly love. Similarly, the friends want to express the fraternal love. They really have no interest in seeing God in that particular little boy. They want to give him love, and they want him to give their love. This is why Krishna craves Vrindavan, because here he is the absolute truth. He is the absolute truth. He displays the original rasa. Yeah. Here, it is the origin of all other rasas. So he craves for this. This is God. He craves for this. Krishna craves for these interactions with his devotees. There's great fear when Mother Yashoda sends him into the forest. She asks Balaram to take care of him. Balaram is older. He's also a boy, but he's a little older. So Balaram has to take care of Krishna. Mother Yashoda prays to all the demigods. She prays to Krishna. She prays to Narayan, the family deity. They bathe Krishna with cow's urine, panchagavya, milk, cow dung, cow's urine, yogurt, and ghee. She bathes him to ward off all evil. It is actually very potent to ward off all evil. There's nothing more potent than cow dung and panchagavya. There's really nothing more potent to cleanse and to make something pure. There really isn't. It's greatly auspicious, especially here in Vraja. All the cows are experiencing Krishna. They are, because they're simple-hearted animals. They're not sophisticated like us. As a consequence, they experience the Lord a lot better than the humans do, whose intelligence interferes with their ability to perceive the presence of the Lord in Vraja. So here, they experience great joy, the cows. So when the cows come in touch with the grass of Vraja, the water of Vraja, they come in touch with so many other aspects. You can see that. They're very different here. They're very different, very conscious. Everybody has a personality. All the cows here have personalities. All of them, literally. So Krishna came here, and he is basically exhibiting all kinds of wonderful things. But the Vrajavasis don't care. They, in fact, try very hard not to attribute any of those wonderful things to him. They just don't want anything to be attributed because it will interfere. They want Vishramba. The boys want to see another boy. They want to give him love as a friend. Otherwise, then there's superior, inferior, there's a hierarchy. It spoils friendship. Then also, when the cowherd boys and the animals drank the poisoned water of the river Yamuna, and after the Lord, in his childhood, revived them by his merciful glance, just to purify the water of the river Yamuna, he jumped into it as if playing and chastised the venomous Kaliya snake, which was lurking there, its tongue emitting waves of poison. Who can perform such Herculean tasks but the Supreme Lord? Now Yamuna ji is getting clean. The government here had allocated millions and millions of dollars, or pounds, if you will, to cleanse Yamuna ji. Now the COVID virus, I don't want to minimize the negative impact of the virus on the world, but the COVID virus coming and the shutting down of all industry across the Yamuna and the Ganga gave a chance for the river to revive itself and to breathe and to basically bring itself up back. So as a consequence, there's a lot of cleansing that's been done in the waters as well. So we are talking about River Yamuna here. Yamuna ji, basically, there were so many pastimes, and most of the pastimes occurred across the Yamuna, most of the pastimes. One of the most special places. Krishna was so desirous of wanting to interact with Yamuna that when Nanda Maharaj was bringing him from Mathura to Vrindavan, Krishna deliberately fell into the Yamuna as a baby. So he started interacting with Yamuna when he was a child, when he was a baby. Yeah. When he was a baby, he fell into the Yamuna. So his interactions with the Yamuna began as a baby. So she is very special. Yamuna ji is very special, very, very special. So many Leelas, the Kaliya Leela, just practically every Leela has taken place alongside the Yamuna. On the very night of the day of the chastisement of the Kaliya snake, when the inhabitants of Rajabhumi were sleeping carefreely, there was a forest fire blaze due to dry leaves, and it appeared that all the inhabitants were sure to meet their death. But the Lord, along with Balaram, saved them by simply closing his eyes. Such are the superhuman activities of the Lord. See, the first point is Srila Jiva Goswami is saying that the delineation and description given by Lord Brahma is not so much coincident. So it is not the same night as Kaliya, because these are occurrences in some other yuga, because in one particular Manvantara, there are 72 Kali Yugas. In one day of Lord Brahma, there are 7,000 Kali Yugas. So which Kali Yuga is he describing? He's describing the future. So what we know is that these are two different occurrences at different time points in Krishna's Leela. But Lord Brahma is saying on the same night as the Kaliya snake incident, there was also a forest fire, and Krishna and Balaram extinguished and protected the residents of Raja by simply closing the eyes. But why did Krishna close his eyes, and how did he control the fire by closing his eyes? You see? Because in the first chapter of the second canto, we see a description of the universal form which literally represents the light and fire. The universal form is a material representation of Krishna, far, far away. Krishna is the origin of all avatars. So if the universal form is the representation of Krishna in the material world, as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, not if the universal form is the representation of Krishna as seen in the material world, and by a neophyte devotee, they see this particular form. It is described that the universal form, fire, is basically resident in the eyes. So he closes his eyes and practically extinguishes the fire. He controls Agni by closing his eyes, because his eyes is the origin of Agni. You see, any form of light is coming from him, so he just closes his eyes. If he closes his eyes, it's dark, fire is extinguished. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother, Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length, and when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna by and by opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. She actually became afraid. When she saw all the universes in the mouth of Krishna, she became afraid that something had happened to him, because he was always getting into trouble with demons. She always thought, the world is so envious of my child because he's so beautiful, that this is another manifestation of something which is negative. So she was not ready to believe that everything was contained within him. She was not ready to she was not ready to believe. So basically, these two incidents are tied up. She was trying to bind someone within whom everything else was bound. She was trying to bind someone within whom everything else was bound. But she was not ready to accept it. That is Braja Bhakti. That is Shuddha Bhakti. When someone is not ready to accept anything which is associated with Krishna because of his opulences, then he can give something to me. He is opulent. He is attractive to me because he is the Supreme Lord. When someone is just attracted to him, that this is my beloved child, in pure Vatsalya Bhakti, this is Shuddha Bhakti. Mother Devaki's Bhakti, on the other hand, it's Mishra Bhakti from the perspective of Aishwarya, overwhelming Madhurya. Mother Yashoda is the opposite. Madhurya is overwhelming Aishwarya. I'm using the word Madhurya from the perspective of sweetness, not from the perspective of conjugal love. So this is Mother Yashoda's bhakti. Her interaction with her son could not be overwhelmed because he's showing some opulence. He says, no, there's something wrong with him. This is my son. There's nothing else between me and him. You see, this is Shuddha Bhakti. This is why in Vraja it is Shuddha Nam. Shuddha Nam is Nam uttered by the Vrajavasis, which is not touched even by Aishwarya. It is touched by the extraordinary sambandha of the Vrajavasis with Krishna in Vrajalila. This is Shuddha Nam. Shuddha Nam has different definitions. Shuddha Nam in one sense could be it has no offenses. But Shuddha Nam without offenses is not what is meant by Shuddha Nam, or I would say the extent of what is given by Acharyas is not represented by the definition. Shuddha Nam is that which is not even overwhelmed by the Aishwarya of Dwaraka. Shuddha Nam is what is being called in Vraja, where they are not allowing anything to interfere with the sweetness of the relationship of Vraja. That is Shuddha Nam. This is Shuddha Nam. When someone in Vraja is completely forgetful of everything, forgetful because of Yoga Maya, so that they could interact. And they can only remember the fact that this is my beloved, this is my son, this is my friend, this is my master. When they have that relationship, that purity with no Aishwarya in it, and they're calling upon the names of the Lord, that's Shuddha Nam. This is really Shuddha Nam. This is the gift given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Chanting without offenses is offenseless chanting. That is what grants us entry into the spiritual sky. That is the beginning of us understanding Sambandha. The mellow starts revealing itself when the offenses cease. What is the biggest offense in chanting of Harinam? The biggest offense is to still have a lot of material desires. That is the 10th offense. So anartha nivritti is the giving up of material desires. It's the giving up of aspects of our existence that have nothing to do with Krishna. So when one completes anartha nivritti, or anarthas are completely given up, then the mellow starts revealing itself. At that point, the devotee consciousness-wise is almost in Satyaloka. He's almost at the highest modes of goodness. He has not crossed over yet. In Bhava Bhakta, crosses over. When there is anartha nivritti is complete and the mellow is known, then they're able to basically situate themselves in the highest level of the material universe. Situating themselves in the highest level of the material universe and then crossing over is simply liberation. That is why we say offenseless chanting gives us liberation. That is why we say Namabhas gives us liberation. Namabhas is offenseless chanting. It gives us liberation. Shuddha Nam, on the other hand, is where the Sambandha is complete. One understands the relationship and they're calling upon Krishna with complete knowledge of the relationship. And as a consequence, Nam that is being called out carries the Sambandha. We hear Aindra Prabhu sitting here in Vrindavan. He is calling Nam. Why is there so much Sambandha? Yeah, there is so much Sambandha, and he talks about Shuddha Nam. Yes, Shuddha Nam is that which has Sambandha. The Sambandha Gyan is very high, specifically of Vraja. It is Vraja Bhakti is very high. The Sambandha of relationship with Krishna is very high. When Aindra Prabhu sat here in Vrindavan, he used to call upon Shuddha Nam. That is the reason why, you hear him and you get inspired in so many different ways to chant japa. It's not kirtan, by the way. Aindra Prabhu did not inspire kirtan, even though it's misunderstood. He inspired japa. If you're chanting purely and you're attracted to Nam by hearing him chant Nam, by hearing him call Nam through his kirtan, then you really have connected with the chanter. Because you're connecting with his heart, you're connecting with his mood. He intended to give Nam. That was his intention. He was wanting to do what Mahaprabhu wanted to do. He was basically wanting to serve Mahaprabhu. He was wanting to give Nam. He was wanting to inspire souls to receive faith. He was wanting to inspire souls to receive Sambandha, his Sambandha. So he sat here in Raja, not wanting to move from Raja. He was calling out Nam, which is Shuddha Nam. The idea was for him to be able to inspire others. So it was not so much inspiring kirtan, music. No, that's just a very small part of what he did. What he really did was to give Shuddha Nam. He gave his faith. His faith with experiences was distributed around the world by his songs, by his singing. It was also represented wonderfully by the kirtan aspects, the raga, the aspects of music. But real nama ruchi, those who have ruchi, Indra Prabhu obviously had wonderful, amazing, advanced ruchi. He was practically distributing his ruchi, his taste of chanting. So the idea was to inspire devotees in this movement to take up japa. That's the effect, not so much music. Music is wonderful, kirtan is wonderful. Nama smaran can happen through japa, it can happen through kirtan. But both tastes should be there. If our taste for Nam exists only because it's accompanied by certain instruments and it sounds pleasant, then that is not real taste. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to make kirtaniyas who had poor voices and poor singing skills to chant Nam in the courtyards of the temple. He used to say, you chant. And devotees would say, Maharaj, I can't chant. You know, they are probably like me, I can't chant. You know, I really don't have any singing skills. My sense of rhythm is very poor. Perhaps I'm dyslexic to some extent. Yeah. But he used to make them chant, saying, you chant. And then he used to tell them, you listen to him now. He basically wanted devotees to pay attention to Nam, which is what Indra Prabhu did. He gave Nam. He gave his faith. And that's why it was carried all over. This has got nothing to do with his singing skills. It had to do with his sambandha in the heart. Yeah. It had to do with sambandha in the heart. You hear him and you develop an interest to come to Raj. You should ideally develop a deep interest in chanting japa. That was his intention. That was his intention in the heart. So that is Shuddha Nam. So this is exactly what this is. This is Shuddha Bhakti, where there is really no consequence of what Krishna is. Can he grant me this desire? Can he lift me out of this trouble? No, Mother Yashoda, on the other hand, wanted to protect her son. She was thinking, this boy is dependent on me. That is Shuddha Bhakti. And then when she is calling out Krishna's name, that is Shuddha Nam. So that's the objective. That's the objective of what's been given to us. We do not want to stop at liberation. That is offenseless chanting. It's achieved rather easily. You might think it's very difficult, but if you put your heart to it, it's achieved rather easily. If that's all you want, you'll be given that. That's all you need, actually, but that's all you want. If that's all you want, you'll be given that. You'll be given that. You can beg Mahaprabhu and he would grant that because it's been given quite easily. They've given us so much more. Liberation is nothing. Liberation is nothing. They have given us so much more. Lord Krishna saved his foster father, Nanda Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varuna and released the cowherd boys from the caves of the mountain, for they were placed there by the son of Maya. Also to the inhabitants of Vrindavan who are busy working during daytime and sleeping soundly at night because of the hard labor in the day, Lord Krishna awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his godhood. The Brajavasis believe that you just lie here and do nothing, you'll go back to Godhead, which is the truth, as long as you're simple-hearted, straightforward, and wanting to serve, and you take every opportunity to be aware of Braja. They say, you know, you can just lie here and you'll be awarded the spiritual sky because this is the spiritual sky. So that is exactly what is being said in this word, in this verse as well. They were busy working during daytime. They were tending the fields and sleeping soundly at night. They were not sadhakas. You see, these are not sadhakas. The Rajabhaktas described in this verse are not sadhakas. But they were born in Raja. They were born in the spiritual sky. That's why they're so special. And Lord Krishna basically awarded promotion to the highest planet in the spiritual sky. All these acts are transcendental and certainly prove without any doubt his godhood. He saved his father, Nanda Maharaj, from the fear of the demigod Varuna. Nanda Maharaj went to bathe in the Yamuna before it was sunrise. In other words, the sun had not risen yet, it was still nightfall, and he disturbed the nightfall, he disturbed the river. So it's considered to be an offense to the waters. As a consequence, Varuna, who is in charge of the waters, he practically bound him. Varuna has Pasha. Pasha is the divine rope, Varuna Pasha, the rope. And Varuna essentially means that he is the god of suffering. He can give a lot of suffering. He's in charge of suffering. He's in charge of suffering. So he basically bound Nanda Maharaj with the Varuna Pasha. Krishna went and redeemed him back from the netherworld. And this is basically where no one comes back from there but then Krishna. The name of Krishna can completely destroy any kind of bondage. The name of Krishna can destroy the bondage of being entrapped in this material universe. What to say of Varuna Pasha? Name of Ram and Krishna, they can completely destroy all the bondage that is to be found here. So what to say of the Varuna Pasha? When the cowherd men of Vrindavan, under the instruction of Krishna, stopped offering sacrifice to the heavenly king Indra, the whole tract of land known as Vraja was threatened with being washed away by constant heavy rains for 7 days. Lord Krishna, out of his causeless mercy upon the inhabitants of Vraja, held up the hill known as Govardhan with one hand only, although he was only 7 years old. He did this to protect the animals from the onslaught of water. He was only 7 years old, and he lifts up the Govardhan hill with his pinky of the left hand. All the Vrajavasis gather under this massive mountain. It was quite big. They all gather under. They did not gather under because they thought this is a safe place to be, because the boy who is holding is God, and as a consequence, he can save me. They all gathered under because they couldn't imagine life without Krishna. They just wanted to be with him. And if the mountain were to fall, they said, let it all happen with him. They just didn't want to be separated from him. So this is not because they thought that this was a wonderfully opulent, powerful child who is God himself and he's saving us. They just didn't want separation. This Govardhan is an extension of Krishna. He's Krishna himself. Giriraj is Krishna himself. Giriraj is Krishna himself. There's no difference between Krishna and Giriraj. There's no difference at all. And as a consequence, the extension of Giriraj, the Leela itself, is a wonderful Leela. This is basically a very, very wonderful Leela. There was no fear. There was love. There was prema. In the hearts of the Vrajavasis, there was prema. They basically were fearless because Krishna was there, and out of love, they went and then they were with him. So this is basically the ideal of service. There's love, there's surrender to the circumstances. Govardhan Leela is all about difficult circumstances and surrender. Surrender, and then there's a lot of service, wonderful interaction, because the sambandha becomes complete. It is done out of love, it is not done out of fear. They were not fearful. They were wanting to be with the object of their love. They didn't want separation. They went and took shelter because he was there. This Giriraj is very special. So basically, they all took shelter under him. When the Lord was engaged in his pastimes of the Rasa dance in the forest of Vrindavan, enlivening the sexual desires of the wives of the inhabitants of Vrindavan by sweet and melodious songs, a demon by the name of Shankachuda, a rich follower of the treasure of the heaven, Kuvera, kidnapped the damsels, and the Lord severed his head from his trunk. This instance is also not quite sequential. The Rasa dance and Shankachuda are two different instances. In other words, it is not so much that the Shankachuda pastime happened simultaneously with the Rasa dance. It is basically, this is the account given by Lord Brahma to Narad Muni. But because Lord Brahma has probably witnessed this in different kalpas, different manvantaras, different yugas, different Kali yugas, Krishna Leela has happened in different Dwaparas, he is basically accounting this to Sri Narad Muni, But Srila Jiva Goswami is offering his opinion that it is not quite simultaneous as seen. All demoniac personalities like Pralamba, Denuka, Baka, Keshi, Arishta, Chanura, Mustika, Kuvalyapida, elephant, Kamsa, Yavana, Narakasura, and Paundaraka, great marshals like Shalva, Dvivida, Balvala, Dantavakra, and seven bulls, Sambara, Vidurata, and Rukmi, as also great warriors like Kamboja, Matsya, Kuru, Srinjaya, and Kekaya would all fight vigorously, either with the Lord Hari directly or with him under his names of Baladeva, Arjuna, Bhima. They were all empowered. Arjuna, Bhima, etc. They're all empowered by Krishna himself. And the demons thus being killed would attain either the impersonal Brahma Jyoti or his personal abode in the Vaikuntha planets. Impersonal Brahma Jyoti, Pratikul. Vaikuntha planets, Anukul. If the mood is Anukulasya, then there's a bond of love. If the mood is Pratikul, then it is impersonal. So the extent to which we are impersonal, that extent to which we carry demoniac qualities. The extent to which we are personal, to that extent we carry positive qualities of the devotee. For us, Anukulasya, being favorable means following in the footsteps of Srimati Radharani. That is Anukulasya. For us, being favorable doesn't mean that you don't think Krishna is a problem. Yeah? We don't want to take on the lowest standard. The lowest standard is that you're not inimical to Krishna. That is not our standard of Anukulasya. Anukulasya for us is where we are following in the footsteps of Srimati Radharani. The Lord himself in his incarnation as the son of Satyavati, Vyasadeva, will consider his compilation of the Vedic literature to be very difficult for the less intelligent persons with short life, and thus he will divide the tree of Vedic knowledge into different branches according to the circumstances of the particular age. So this is a description of the incarnation of Srila Vyasadeva, who is a literary incarnation of Krishna. Literary. The extraordinary empowerment required and to be able to have direct perception of all the avatars and all the expansions, it cannot be done by ordinary personalities. So this is the position of Vyasadeva, especially Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasadeva, who is the Vyasadeva of the present age, is incarnation of Krishna himself. When the atheists, after being well versed in the Vedic scientific knowledge, annihilate inhabitants of different planets flying unseen in the sky on well-built rockets prepared by the great scientist Maya, the Lord will bewilder their minds by dressing himself attractively as Buddha and will preach on sub-religious principles. So Srila Jiva Goswami is again saying, this Buddha is not the same as Lord Buddha, who is one of the Dasha avatars. What is being described here by Lord Brahma to Sri Narad Muni is the Buddha avatar of a different Manvantara, different Kalpa, different time frame altogether. So some of what we read here in Srimad Bhagavatam as being accounts, you would see them as being shared, but they belong to a different age, and as a consequence, we might get mixed up because the names are similar. But here, the distinction is being provided by acharyas that this is not the same Buddha avatar. Yeah? What did Lord Buddha do, the Buddha avatar of what we know, Gautam Buddha? Lord Buddha, who is the incarnation of the Lord, he cast away the Vedas because the Vedas were being abused. And he also cast away the Vedas so that he could deal with the more fundamental principles of being human. So he introduced sub-religious principles, not so much sublime thought. He said, okay, first be a human being. Stop causing violence to others. Be peaceful. Yeah. So he started introducing the very, 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 I would say, essential aspects of what is required so that the generation of human beings could receive more advanced knowledge, because he saw deterioration. And as a consequence, he wanted to take away authority because they were actually working on the authority of the Vedas. So he took that away and he started giving them. Yeah. So that is basically what is being spoken of as sub-religious principles. They are not actually main religion, because in Vedic religion, the idea of not hurting others, this is just very basic human behavior. This is not being considered as an important trait because it's a given. It's a given. You would actually find the Vedic religion starts at a much more advanced stage. You will find in other areas you will find in other areas, other delineations of faith in other parts of the world, where there would be matters discussed which cannot even be considered as what we would call as important or even necessary by Vedic civilization, but they found it necessary at that point in time. Thereafter, at the end of Kali Yuga, when there exists no topics on the subject of God, this is very important. End of Kali Yuga, there exists no topics on the subject of God, even at the residences of so-called saints and respectable gentlemen of the three higher castes, and when the power of government is transferred to the hands of ministers elected from the low-born Shudra class, or those less than them, and when nothing is known of the techniques of sacrifice, even by word, at that time the Lord will appear as the supreme chastiser. This is Kalki. Basically, Kalki avatar appears when there's absolutely no scope to assist. So he just fells and he appears one last time to ensure that he is able to salvage some part of the earth. He is the last in the Kalki. Yeah. So this is basically at a time when there exists no topic of the subject of the thought. This very thought of an existence in the world when there is no topic in the subject of God, even at the residence of so-called saints, it is frightening. Frightening. Yeah. If this doesn't frighten us to hold on to our japa beads, then what will? At the beginning of creation, there are penance, myself, Brahma, and the Prajapatis, the great sages who generate. Then during the maintenance of the creation, there are Lord Vishnu, the demigods with controlling powers, and the kings of different planets. By the end, there is irreligion, and then Lord Shiva and the atheists full of anger, etc. All of them are different representative manifestations of the energy of the supreme power, the Lord. Who can describe completely the prowess of Vishnu? Even the scientists who might have counted the particles of the atoms of the universe cannot do so, because it is he only who in his form of Trivikrama moved his leg effortlessly beyond the topmost planet Satyaloka up to the neutral state of the three modes of material nature, and all were moved. This is a description of Vamanavatar. He lifts up his foot and he covers the sky, and the toe, big toe, pierces the spiritual sky, the Viraja, and then Ganga Devi basically manifests. Yeah, so she comes as a celestial Ganges. Then Bhagirath brings her as the physically manifest Ganga that we see here. Neither I nor all the sages born before you know fully the omnipotent personality of Godhead. So what can others who are born after us know about him? Even the first incarnation of the Lord, namely Sesha, has not been able to reach the limit of such knowledge, although he's describing the qualities of the Lord with 1,000 faces. But anyone who is specifically favored by the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, due to unalloyed surrender unto the service of the Lord, can overcome the insurmountable ocean of illusion and can understand the Lord. But those who are attached to this body, which is meant to be eaten at the end by dogs and jackals, cannot do so. O Narada, although the potencies of the Lord are unknowable and immeasurable, still because we are all surrendered souls, we know how he acts through Yoga Maya potencies. And similarly, the potencies of the Lord are also known to the all-powerful Shiva, the great king of the atheist family named Prahalad Maharaj, Swayambhu Manu, his wife Shatarupa, his sons and daughters like Priyavrata, Uttanapad, Akruti, Devahuti, and Prashuti, Prachinabari, Ribu, Anga, the father of Vena, Maharaj Dhruva, Ikshvaku, Ela, Muchakunda, Maharaj Janaka, Gadi, Raghu, Ambarisha, Sagara, Gaya, Nahusha, Mandatha, Alarka, Satadanve, Anu, Rantideva, Bhishma, Bali, Amrutaraya, Dilipa, Saubari, Uttanka, Shibi, Devala, Pipalada, Saraswata, Uddhava, Parasara, Burishena, Vibhishana, Hanuman, Sukadev Goswami, Arjuna, Arishtasena, Vidura, Shrutadeva, etc. These are all personalities who have received some special mercy to understand the Lord. Surrendered souls, even from the groups leading sinful activities, such as women, the laborer class, the mountaineers, and the Siberians. The Shabara, mountaineers and Siberians, or even the birds and beasts can also know about the signs of Godhead and become liberated from the clutches of the illusory energy by surrendering onto the pure devotees of the Lord and by following the footsteps in devotional service. Now, here and in different parts of the Bhagavatam, we see this surrendered souls even from groups leading sinful lives, such as women. Be very careful when this Stri Shudra is all being equated, because there is an assumption that women and Shudras, as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, are of the same class. It is not so. When they use the word Stri in Sanskrit, it refers to someone who is attached to their senses. Shudra is also someone who is attached to their senses, can only perceive happiness through their senses. So, Stri mentioned here can refer to a male body, but whose psychology operates in such a way that they are very attached to their senses and they can't really go beyond the attraction of the senses. It refers to those in a woman's body whose senses are so powerful that they are basically overwhelmed by the sensuality. So we don't want to go and jump to a conclusion that if a soul is in a woman's body, they are inferior to a soul who is in a male body. That is not the intention of Scripture. Stri is a quality. Stri is a quality where there's a great attraction to the senses, an overwhelming emotional state and conditioning which doesn't allow them to come in touch with scriptural truth. It does not talk about those who are in a woman's body. So there are men who are of a low nature. There are women who are of a low nature, who are attracted to their senses and they can't purely go, accomplish anything beyond their senses. That is the definition of Stri. Stri is a psychological state. So we don't want to jump to the conclusion that the Stri being referred to here is that anyone and everyone who is in a woman's body is inferior to anyone and everyone who is in a male body. That is a wrong, erroneous conclusion, which is basically not to be had. This is basically not the intention of Shastra. Shastra is talking about those whose senses are so powerful that they can never be, they can never overcome the desires of the senses and the pull of the senses. Their minds are weak. Their intelligence is not strong because they can't remember Shastra. That is not the case. Yeah. We know so many women preachers in our movement. Mother Janava, the consort of Lord Nityananda, was accepted as a spiritual master by all the residents of Vrindavan, including the Goswamis who were left then, all the main preachers, Srila Jiva Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Srila Srinivas Acharya. Janava Mata was basically the spiritual master. She led the movement after Lord Nityananda's passing. So the point being, the Shastra is not referring to a woman. It is not. Shastra is referring to the quality of being overwhelmed by the senses. That is Stri. That is also Shudra. That is also Huna, Sabara. So now we have devotees who are in the West. Can they be called, Yavanas and Siberians, etc.? No, they can't, because they are devotees. They have basically overcome the conditioning and they are able to surrender and they are engaging in amazing devotional service. So what we need to do is be very careful in understanding the definition being given when we read that Stri, Shudra, and the tribals and the mountains, etc. Stri is a quality where the physical nature is such that the physical body can overwhelm the mind, can overwhelm intelligence, and they become dysfunctional. Yeah, men can be that way too. Men can have very powerful senses where the sensual attraction and the weak senses can be so overwhelmed that they basically can't have anything to do with Shastra. That is Stri, that is Shudra. Yeah, because they can only think of the needs of the body. That is Stri, that is Shudra. This does not refer to someone in the physical body of a devotee, physical body of a woman or so. That doesn't. So we want to be very careful because this can lead to a lot of, I would say, confusion about, the servants of the Lord. What is realized as the absolute Brahman is full of unlimited bliss without grief. That is certainly the ultimate phase of the supreme enjoyer, the personality of Godhead. He is eternally void of all disturbances and fearless. He is complete consciousness as opposed to matter, uncontaminated and without distinctions. He is the principle of the primeval cause of all causes and effects, in whom there is no sacrifice for fruitive activities, and in whom the illusory energy does not stand. In such a transcendental state, there is no need for artificial control of the mind, mental speculation, or meditation as performed by the Gyanis and Yogis. One gives up such process as the heavenly king Indra forgoes the trouble to dig a well. Why would Indra be excited in digging a well? Indra wouldn't be excited in digging a well. In a similar fashion, someone who has crossed over into the spiritual sky, where the mind has absolutely nothing to do, the mind has no say, who are in complete control of the mind in the sense that they don't even need to control the mind. The mind has been spiritualized, the senses have been spiritualized. They don't basically need to engage in any kind of artificial control or meditation, speculation, as performed by the Gyanis, because they already know what it is. So for them, comparing their state with the Gyanis and the other yogis is to basically compare, or rather say that Indra, the king of the heavens, wanted to dig a well because he took a lot of trouble because he was out of water. Why would Indra dig a well? He is the king of heavens. The personality of Godhead is the supreme master of everything, auspicious, because the results of whatever actions are performed by the living being in either the material or spiritual existence are awarded by the Lord. As such, he is the ultimate benefactor. Every individual living entity is unborn, and therefore, even after the annihilation of the material elementary body, the living entity exists exactly like air within the body. My dear son, I have now explained in brief the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the creator of the manifested worlds. Without him, Hari, the Lord, there are no other causes of phenomenal and nominal existences. O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Please describe the science of Godhead with determination in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service onto the personality of Godhead Hari, the super soul of every living being and the summum bonum of all energies. The Lord's activities in association with his different energies should be described, as appreciated, and heard in accordance with the teachings of the Supreme Lord. If this is done regularly with devotion and respect, one is sure to get out of the illusory energy of the Lord. So that was the last verse of chapter 7. I'm going to end it here, and I'll take a couple of questions. We do have some 15 minutes, then I have to go. So we'll take a few questions before we go. And next week, we'll begin chapter 8. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Lovely class, as usual. Very nice, very enlivening. I have a question, and this is in regard to what you mentioned about Purna Avatar. That's completely now. So you talked about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you talked about Krishna, who are, and then you talked about three personalities, which is Ram, Varaha, and Narasimha, who are Purna Avatars. And the others are having less predominance of the Paramatma Tattva, other avatars. My question is, how do we ascertain, or how do we know that these are the three, on what qualities, or how do we ascertain that these are the Purna avatars? What factor?
But no, what factors in the sense you're talking about attributes?
Yes, attributes.
See, specifically at this time, it is difficult when we go into the different avatars. We could talk about it further down in the third canto, specifically the seventh canto, ninth canto, etc. But the delineation itself is based on the fact that it is the Paramatma Amsa who descended. It was not Jiva Amsa. There was no Jiva Amsa. There was no Jiva attribute. In the sense, it was not a Satyavesha. It was not empowered. It was not, for example, Sri Narad Muni is an empowered incarnation. Shanaka, the four Kumara brothers are empowered incarnations. Srila Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation. So these are different distinctions, Satyavesha. where the empowerment has been given to accomplish a certain task. The Purna avatar, they descend with complete 6 opulences. But a description of this complete 6 opulences, we would take it up in great detail when we come and discuss the 3 avatars which we spoke of. Yeah? But in essence, you should remember that it's 100% delineation of 6 opulences.
6 qualities. All the 6 qualities
Exactly.
is what ascertains.
Exactly. It's all the 6 qualities in full.
Yeah.
All the 6 qualities in full.
Yeah. I have one more question. I'll wait for everybody else to ask, and I'll probably ask at the end.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Haribo?
So, Prabhuji, can you please explain a bit more about Jiva Tattva and Paramatma Tattva in specific, as in which qualities they have?
Well, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives us 64 qualities for Krishna, 60 qualities for Lord Narayan, which is, you can say, Karanodakashayi Vishnu, who is the origin, he is the first Purusha avatar. 55 qualities for Lord Shiva, 50 qualities for Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is Jiva Tattva. He has 50 qualities in full. But Lord Shiva has a few more qualities in addition to Lord Brahma. That's why he has 55 qualities. He is more than Brahma. And Lord Narayan has 5 more qualities than Lord Shiva. And then Krishna ultimately has 64 qualities, describing him as the Sampurna avatar, which is basically the avatari, the origin. So we will be studying about this as we go further, but this is how we delineate. So a jiva, which is a soul such as us, has the ability to attain the complete power of the 50 qualities. 50 qualities. Whatever 50 qualities are there, the jiva has the ability to attain that. Not even to the extent to which Lord Brahma does, but essentially, a jiva has the potential to become Lord Brahma. Yeah? A jiva, a soul, has the ability to reach the highest position, which is Lord Brahma. Perfection in 50 qualities. They can never become Shiva. What to say of becoming Vishnu and Krishna? So that's how we differentiate. What these qualities are, there are specific verses. When we go through Sambandha, when we go through the Bhagavatam further, we will talk about this.
That was great, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. And one thing more, when we were talking about Brahmanas, so Brahmana as in we meant by birth or by Brahmanical qualities?
Sorry, again? What was it again?
We were actually talking about Brahmanas when we were relating to Mayavadis and other stuff. So in Brahmanas, what do we refer to? Like it's Brahmana by birth or by qualities?
I'm not sure if we were referring to Brahmanas. I was using the word Brahman, the effulgence of the Lord. The impersonal Brahman, not the Brahmana, as in Varna.
Yeah. That is what we were talking about. Yeah. That's good, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll take a couple of questions from chat. Did anybody else have a question they want to ask before I go to the chat?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Prabhuji, there are 3 Purusha avatars, Karnodakshayi Vishnu, Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, and Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. So, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu is lying in the Garbhodak ocean, and Garbhodak ocean, Prabhuji, it is regarding the where they are positions. I mean, 3 Mahavishnu avatars. Is Garbhodakshayi Vishnu is in Garbhodak ocean, and in Garbhodak ocean there are innumerous universes. Is that so?
No, no. Let me explain. Karanodakashayi Vishnu is the first Purusha. He is lying on the causal ocean. From him emanate universes. So he expands from where he is into the universes themselves. And as he expands into the different universes, he becomes Garbhodakashayi Vishnu for each and every universe. And then within that universe, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu again expands into Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who is basically going to be in the Shira ocean. He represents the Guna avatar. So there is one Vishnu who is supporting the whole universe. There's another Vishnu who is the Guna avatar, who becomes the super soul of the entities. That is the difference.
All right, all right. So just for concluding, Mahavishnu or Kanodakshai Vishnu is lying in Viraja river.
Yes.
And then further, many, from him, many universes are inhabiting. And then he expands himself in Garbhodakshai Vishnu that enters in each universe. And then Garbhodakshai Vishnu expand himself in Kshirodakshai Vishnu that enter in all jivas as super soul.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Prabhuji. And one more question, Prabhuji. Can you please explain one more time that how the Virat Rupa of Krishna represent? I understand it represent material representation. It is material representation of Krishna. But again, it is Krishna, right?
It is Krishna. There's no difference whatsoever in the sense that there is no difference, but we have to understand that it is an expansion of the expansion of Krishna. It is basically a material representation. So that Virat Rupa has a form, which is a universal form. Many heads, many bodies, his arms and legs and everything else, covering the whole universe. There is an enormous form, and that particular form basically is seen as encompassing all the separated energies contained within that form. So basically, all the three different modes of nature, everything is contained within that particular form. It is an enormous form. So that is a representation of the Virat Rupa. So that is a material representation because that is the material representation of time. It is basically the time factor itself. It has all three modes of nature, including the mode of ignorance and passion. As a consequence, it is a material representation. It is a representation of the separated energies, but has a form. So simply think of Krishna representing himself as everything else that is working here in this universe, but he comes in a specific form where he shows that everything is me. You should just understand it from that perspective. But, you can see it in our Bhagavad Gita as well. You can see the picture where he is in many heads and many, you can see that. Yeah, many expansions in the 11th chapter specifically. That is what is being talked of.
So I have repeatedly read like Krishna, it's from time factor and all the three mode of material natures are being driven, and Krishna is the cause and of all causes. I mean, with the Krishna's will, it is all the three mode of material natures are associated with like time factor they generate, and but still Krishna is aloof from all these.
Yes, he's not affected by anything.
Not affected by anything. So
just like the sun is not affected by the sun rays.
Yes. So it is something like that.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. So let me just take a couple of questions that I see here. The first question is, why are all avatars always men, never women? You see, we are not about the body as being men or women. Avatars are Purushas. Krishna is a Purusha. In that sense, what we see as manifestations of men and women on this planet are simply material coverings of men and women. But all of us are part and parcel of Krishna. He is the enjoyer. We are all women in that sense. We are all to be enjoyed by the enjoyer. So that is how we are. All our position, regardless of whether we are in a male body, female body, we are all to be enjoyed as a consequence. Our business is to give pleasure to the senses of Krishna. So he is always Purusha. So it is not so much that all avatars are men and never women. In fact, in our Siddhanta, we worship Krishna's internal potency, Srimati Radharani, as being more powerful than Krishna because she gives us Krishna. We cannot approach Krishna. Krishna cannot give us Krishna Prema. Radharani has Krishna Prema in her heart. So we worship Radha and Krishna. Without Radharani, we can never have Krishna. So as a consequence, in our hearts, we just don't distinguish men, women. We don't distinguish the different gender types. You know, when we are looking at Krishna and his incarnations, for our position, we have to understand, regardless of which body we are in, our business is to serve. And as a consequence, we are enjoyed and he is the enjoyer. When we use the word Purusha, it means the person who enjoys. This is Sanskrit. It is not a definition of male and female. Purusha, the person who enjoys. Yeah? And everybody else is the enjoyed. The business of the devotee who is a sadhaka is to give up Purusha Bhav. Our business is to give up our position of wanting to enjoy and instead take the position of giving pleasure. That is our position. Yeah? So that is where we are. So regardless of how we appear in this world in terms of male, female, Krishna is the enjoyer. He is the Purusha. We are all to be enjoyed. So in that sense, we really don't have an issue of gender focus. We don't have an issue of gender focus at all. He is not trying to show that one gender is superior to the other. In fact, for us, Radharani in Vraj is superior because without her, we cannot get Krishna. Srimati Radharani for us is everything here in Vraja Bhakti. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so dear to us because it is Radharani's mood. Krishna appears in Radharani's mood, so he can understand it. That is why he is able to give Krishna Bhakti. So for us, Radha and Krishna are the same, you know, and it is not a gender-based, bodily-based distinction as to what kind of body the Lord appears in. It is more a matter of us understanding the mood of service. So I hope this is clear to you. Now, can you explain, in the class you were saying how fire is controlled by Krishna's eyes during the forest fire Leela. In many places in the Shastra, Krishna's eyes are compared to the cooling lotus. His glance is cooling, sweet, etc. Please, can you explain this apparent contradiction? Yes, because when we look at the manifestation, in the material energy of fire that is destructive, then light which is destructive, because even if you look at the sun, summer months are very hot. Yeah. So in a similar fashion, there is some part of the year when even something that is as beneficial as the sunlight can become quite intense. In a similar fashion, when there's a material fire, then that fire is being put out by Krishna to his potency of Krishna's eyes being able to control the light, the fire, and everything else, etc. Yeah. So Soma, Surya, Agni. These are three different potencies. Soma is the cooling potency of the Lord. Agni, which is the actual heat which comes from the Lord's eyes. And then there is also Surya. So there are three different eyes. You know, we all compare the Lord's eyes as being Soma, Surya, Agni. All of this is possible. So these contradictions are not contradictions. They can coexist in harmony. Yeah? They can coexist in harmony. The great Lord who tears apart Hiranyakashipu can embrace the devotee Prahlad. There's no contradiction. He is not in the mode of ignorance. He is the great Lord who is a loving father to Prahlad Maharaj, who can embrace his dear devotee at the same time, tear apart and be fierce to the demigods. Even the demigods could not approach him. He was so fierce. So there is no contradiction there. Can we accept Siksha Gurus too when we have a Diksha Guru? What is the role of Siksha Guru? This is a very important question. Shastra does not distinguish Siksha and Diksha. Shastra doesn't distinguish. Initially, Krishna attracts us through Siksha. He is attracting us through 4, 5, more than that even, Siksha Gurus. We hear, we come in touch, and then we are attracted to Shastra, we are attracted to Krishna by the Siksha Gurus. Once we are attracted, one amongst the Siksha Gurus is chosen as that personality who is the Diksha Guru, who gives us the connection to the spiritual sky, to the lineage, etc. But Shastra doesn't basically distinguish the two. So, for example, for us, Srila Prabhupada is a Siksha Guru for everybody, isn't it? Then there is a Diksha Guru who has come in the lineage of Srila Prabhupada. In our parampara, Siksha takes on a greater dominance. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur accepted Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj as Siksha Guru. He did not show in the lineage his real Guru who initiated him. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was initiated by someone else, but who do we see preceding Bhaktivinoda Thakur? We see Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. So Siksha precedes Diksha. Then we see Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. He was not initiated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but he was a Siksha Guru. So he precedes Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Then we have Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, the Diksha Guru of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur being the Diksha Guru of our Prabhupada. So this is basically going on. So the Shastra doesn't distinguish. It doesn't distinguish because it gives the equal position to both spiritual masters, both the teaching spiritual master, the Siksha Guru, and the initiating spiritual master, the Diksha Guru. The teaching spiritual master's relationship is based on faith. So the Siksha Guru's relationship is completely faith-based. As long as we have faith, then the relationship exists. The Diksha Guru's relationship is through formal initiation. It is not just based on faith, it is more than it is formally, there is a ceremony, there is an acceptance, and there's a cultivation of connection through lineage, etc. But there is no distinction in the eyes of Shastra. Yeah, because both perform the same role, both the Shiksha and Dikshas attract us to Krishna. That is their specific role. Both of them attract. We can have many Siksha Gurus, Diksha Guru is just one. That's the difference. Now, let's go on to the next question. Garbhodakashai Vishnu is the Paramatma super soul within all demigods. As you said at the beginning of the session, I'm not sure if I heard it right. Can you please elaborate on this? The super soul of the demigods, because the demigods have to manage the universe. Shri Garbhodakashai Vishnu is maintaining the universe by lying on the Garbhodaka ocean, the womb of the universe. So the demigods are the managers. They are being inspired to manage the universe by Garbhodakashai Vishnu. The living entities receive the super soul, who is Chirodakashai Vishnu, who maintains them, the idea of being able to cross the road when it is appropriate. The idea of being able to receive the right intuition for us to be able to engage in the right direction. This comes from the super soul who is within the heart of all living entities. So there is a difference between the two. So I was wanting to make that distinction. Also, can you throw some light on Sri Balaji or Lord Venkateshwara? Is he one of the avatars of Vishnu? Srila Prabhupada gave an opinion that he represented Krishna himself. But apparently, to some devotees, he appeared as a child, as Krishna himself. So Lord Venkateshwara is Krishna himself who appeared. So there is no distinction between him and Krishna. That is one. Second, there is a Varaha avatar behind the temple of Tirupati Balaji. Originally, Tirupati is a Varaha Kshetra. So Lord Varaha existed before Lord Balaji. So in one sense, it is also seen that Lord Balaji is Varaha avatar because he's basically in the same hill as Lord Varaha, who existed even before he came there. How can we know for certain when someone has reached the point of self-realized and has seen the spiritual sky? This is a good question for us. What we need to do is to see if, as long as someone speaks the Shastra and their words are aligned with Sadhu and Shastra, and they have the ability to inspire us on the path of Shastra and to motivate us to walk in the footsteps of those who preceded the person who is speaking, then such a person is definitely in touch. So even if the person hasn't seen the truth and is self-realized, as long as they carry the truth within their hearts and they're very surrendered to their guru, the guru can use them as instruments to inspire us to move forward. So as far as we are concerned, we should see consistency in words. We do not want to speculate on whether someone is fully realized. We want to basically understand consistency. We want to see that words are consistent with Shastra. We want to see that after coming in touch with the person, we're inspired on the path of devotional service. These are very important attributes. Is Virat Rupa imaginary? It is not. It is not. It is present, but because it is enveloped by material time, it is the material time factor itself. It is a representation of how the three modes of material nature would basically interact. It is a representation of how the three modes of nature are managed within the universe along with the mode of ignorance. It is temporary. That is the reason why it is considered to be material. It is temporary. Okay, so is there anything else? I can probably just do one more question for 5 minutes and then we go.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Mataji, can I see? I heard 2 questions. Can I see if someone has not been answered? Can I take that question, Shafi?
Sure, Prabhuji. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just want to give a chance to someone. I think someone else wanted to raise their hand as well. So did anybody else ask?
That was me, but I'm okay for Mataji to take the question.
Okay, why don't you put yourself, can you kind of also put your question on chat meanwhile so that I could just take, Shafi, if you could keep just the question very short so that I could take both, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure, Prabhuji. In one line, I'll say, what is the cause of material creation?
What is the cause of material creation? In the sense, what is the original cause? See, this is an ontological question. The cause of material creation is an ontological question because the cause of material creation, in one sense, happened at a time that we can't even imagine because we can't even visualize one day of Lord Brahma, which is billions of years. Yeah, we can't even visualize 1,000 yuga cycles in one day of Lord Brahma. Imagine 100 years. Imagine Lord Brahma coming and going so many different times. So the original cause of creation is Krishna's, what I'm trying to say is material energy is considered to be eternal. It is considered to be eternal as much as the spiritual sky. It coexists. Why? Because ontologically, you can't even determine what the time is when it started. Does it make sense? It coexists together. Yeah, it coexists. There is no cause. Cause is Krishna. There is cause is Krishna. But at the same time, it has coexisted for so long that it is considered eternal. It's a manifestation.
All right, Prabhuji.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
You mentioned about Ayendra Prabhu, and you mentioned his mood and how he inspired others to take to Kirtan. And I was just wondering, Ayendra Prabhu is such a pure devotee. His passing away was kind of in a very, odd, or just a gas lit up, and he left the body like that. Similarly, if you see Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he was going in a car accident, and that's it. Similarly, I see now Guru Maharaj also, which seems like not apparently. How, I was just wondering what you think and what's your kind of view on this.
Yeah. See, I have known these incidents that have occurred in the past. Now, can you imagine this? Krishna leaving with an arrow being shot on his toe.
Yeah, that's
Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
So try imagining that, try figuring that out,
Yes.
and then you will find everything else falling in place. I think what we need to do when we look at devotees, very specifically the Vaishnavas, is we need to pay a lot of attention to their life. And we need to understand their lives. We really need to understand their lives from deep within, because they have taught us so much and they have given so much. That includes all the personalities that you mentioned, Ayendra Prabhu, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Your Guru Maharaj, all the personalities, all the sons of Srila Prabhupada who contributed so much to this movement. So we want to observe what they contributed during life. How they left is a matter of, in reality, what I'm saying is, it is not a matter of speculation. It is a matter of what is most expedient. Krishna sometimes makes arrangements to take the devotee out during circumstances that are most expedient. It is very complex, especially if they're gurus. It's even more complex because they have so many different responsibilities and they carry responsibilities of so many different personalities. We wonder, why would they have to suffer? So these are all questions which become very, very important to us because, why couldn't it have been easier? They seem to have done a lot more than most people did. Why should they leave in such a, with a struggle? But it's a far more complex circumstance because what we do know is that they loved Krishna and they served him to the utmost capacity. They didn't waste their time, and many of them served for 50 years plus. So what we do realize is that this must have been the best possible way to basically assist them in moving forward and also showing the rest of the devotees that it is perfectly okay. It is perfectly okay. In other words, we are not even aspiring for a peaceful death. It's perfectly okay for us to leave one way or the other. We are just interested in engaging in service and exemplifying what a service is. Yeah? It is more complex, especially if they're gurus, it's far more complex for us to understand. Yeah, it is very complex for us to understand because there are so many different things. They carry karma of disciples. Now, if it is time for you to go, what is an expedient way for you to get rid of karma? How can you explain Srila Prabhupada being gored by a bull 5 years before he was supposed to come to the West? How can you explain that? He is supposed to start the most important mission that the world has ever seen from a spiritual perspective. And 5 years before that, just as he takes sannyas, he gets gored by a bull in Vrindavan, of all places, and he lies in a hospital here. How can you explain that? So the point I'm trying to make is sometimes there are aspects of their existence that have to be taken care of for them to move further. They've done their part. They've more than done what everybody else expects them to do. It is not their karma. It is not their karma which has resulted in this kind of an end. It is what is required to expedite and to do what is most important for them to make the transition at that point. So Krishna takes charge. So we need to understand that part as well. Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to end today. And if you have any questions, then you could reach out to me in the next session. And we will meet again. Okay? Thank you very much for joining us. And Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.